Hey guys, back again with an Opus 13 spoiler. I want to thank Tim Schilder a lot for this one because it's a heroic, and he gave it to me. It's one of his originally. We usually only get commons and rares in Australia, but Tim gave me this one especially, so thank you so much for that. Just as usual, I'll just play the card straight away, so if you just want to see the card and leave, that's fine. It's Rain. It's a 6-cost Rain, a fire forward. He's from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's a king, not a knight. The text is, the cost required to cast Rain is reduced by 1 for each fire backup you control. When Rain enters the field or attacks, choose one forward opponent controls, deal at 1000 damage for each backup you control. And at damage 3, Rain gains haste, and he has 7000 power. So there's the card. Again, if you want to leave now, you can, but I'm going to talk about the card a bunch. So if you want to hang around, you can do that too. So straight away, I mean, obviously, it's got fairly... I'll put it back on the screen. It's got fairly straightforward text. Basically tells you everything you need to know about it and what to do with it. It's most appropriate in Monofire, and it's much better later on than early on. That being said, its ceiling is incredibly efficient. A 1 CP 7k haste that deals 10k on entry is insane value as a card by itself. Even as a 2-cost 7k that deals 8k on entry, so if you only have 4 backups, that's still really good. So it can still be powerful before its ceiling, which is always a good sign. Damage 3 is also a very good damage gate compared to anything higher than it, and I won't go into huge detail, but 3 is usually the gate that your opponent kind of has to break before they know if they're going to win, so Rain should be live and relevant in most games, whereas other damage gates like 4 and especially 5, that's not necessarily the case. That's all, of course, talking about the card by itself. That's a very solid base, very solid base case, but it also naturally fits with a lot of other competitive fire cards. Any card that deals multiple small damage packets has inherent synergy with other cards that deal small damage packets, and it buffs both effects significantly. So I'm going to call that consolidation from now on, which is basically combining small damage packets into, you know, killing something larger, like a regular sized forward, so to speak. So straight away, you can think about cards like these. Samurais are the obvious fit. Rain's ability fits very nicely with Cyan, and having such a strong engine within a single colour makes Monofire currently the best and probably the only remaining competitive monocolour deck. Magista decks have plenty of small damage packets to consolidate, and Rain even provides a summon-heavy Ifrita deck with an excellent body that actually deal damage to your opponent, while also supporting Ifrita's AoE and consolidating the smaller Ifrits. So basically, it works well with every possible existing version of Monofire. Beyond those, Zand is a natural match. It's also restricted to, Monofire. It's usually capped by not having a reliable consolidator for its on-attack effect, which is kind of what it needs to be worth playing. Zac is also a generic fire card that gets much better the more ways you have to consolidate its effect. Outside of Monofire, there is some merit in Fire Earth, assuming it's weighted heavier into Fire, because you do want your Rain to be cheaper. Mainly because there are 3 EX searches for it, and Shantoto still counts as a fire backup if you play Shantoto. So if you want to move into Earth for Shantoto as a more reliable Neo Punish than something like Philia, there are options, and you can get away with 1 non-fire back on the field, and Rain is still good. So, you know, it's possible it can still be played in maybe Fire Earth, but I can't really think of any other dual elements that it would be worth playing in. One thing I really want to emphasize about Rain is that, and I was talking about, you know, consolidation and other fire effects that deal small damage packets, Rain is one of the first cards to do both in an efficient way, as in, without the other cards, it can consolidate its own packets of damage to kill something by itself. But if you have other effects around, it can split the packets to consolidate those effects into 2 kills. So it works with and without the other cards. That's also probably good enough already just on entry the turn it enters. But on top of that, as a bonus, the other effects can consolidate its attacks into more kills, making it a persistent threat. So it not only works well with existing cards, also the fact that it is very good on its own without needing to combo with other things. You know, that's something we haven't seen much at all, because usually when we have multiple damage packets, it's usually an AoE effect where, you know, it has to hit multiple things. It can't, you know, hit something with, use multiple packets on the same thing itself. That being said, Rain's strengths are also its main weakness, so it works very well with Fire's abundance of small damage packets, but in the same vein, it doesn't help against cards and decks that don't care about those at all anyway. Both Ishtolas are as annoying as ever, and the card is absolutely useless against something like Loop Deck. It's also got Diablos Syndrome, where, you know, even though it's cheap to play, it still has 6 printed on it. So that's the number that gives multi-element lock value, which is a popular card at the moment. So that's, you know, definitely a drawback of the card. That being said, it is still... I'm going to put the card back up on the screen. It is still basically a legend legend text on a hero that fits immediately into, you know, an existing top tier deck like Samurais. So expect to see this card quite a bit, especially on release, and, you know, depending what else is in the set and how the format pans out, potentially throughout the format too. Yeah, that's basically everything I have to say about it. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Enjoy.